Hello, good evening. My name is John Dampil. I'm a student of the Master's Program for Computer Engineering from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. And today my presentation is the scientific paper review for robotics process automation or RPA implementation drivers, evidence of selected Nordic companies. So moving on with the research authors, we have Damien Kizjora. He's from Hanken School of Economics. Arja Leiponen from Bashkila University of Applied Sciences. Wojciech Piotrowicz from the Hanken School of Economics. And lastly, last but not the least, is Ansi Orni from Abu Academy. So the goals and objectives of this study is to explore and examine the key decision-making factors related to the implementation of RPA at Nordic companies in the context of organizational setup and culture. The research paper also primarily aims to address the four questions below. What was the role of IT department in RPA dev? What decision criteria used for RPA development? What are the risks related to RPA implementation? And how independently do software robots in process automation works? The methodology for this, the participants, so basically the researchers gathered the data they need by means of interview method. So they conducted interviews from September 17, 2018 to March 11, 2019. The interviewees are employed in managerial and experts role related to RPA, so they have a background of the industry. They also represent the four different organizations based in Finland, from medical, real estate, and accounting industries. All the interviewees have strong practical experience in using RPA at finance and accounting tasks, and have been involved in the process of choosing tasks suitable for automation. So basically, these participants are all experts in their business fields, and at the same time, they are all familiar with how RPA works and how it is being used nowadays. So mainly their titles are RPA developer, product owner, personal manager, head of intelligent automation, senior manager, service manager, and specialist. So the data gathering technique used for this is the interview data gathering methodology. So basically they created questionnaires which they then presented to the interviewees, which answered their questions, and from there they have tallied the result. So the researchers have conducted these interviews from 2018 to 2019 with selected participants having extensive experience in RPA implementation, like mentioned. Two interviews were also conducted in person, face-to-face, and the remaining 6 were conducted online via Skype for business. The meetings were conducted in the Finnish and their findings translated to English. The interviews were booked for 1 hour and their duration varied between 35 to 45 minutes. So here's the interview profiling. So interviewee Cody. So basically, they didn't provide the names of the participants. They gave them a code and their position, and then the exact time on the third column is the time that they spent interviewing these participants. So they have totaled a number of 317 minutes, or 5 hours and 17 minutes. So for the data presentation, the researchers were able to gather the details and information they need by means of the interview from the multiple RPA industry experts. And they will able to present the data into tabular representations. So below are the 4 areas or criteria that they covered for their data presentation: core functions and capabilities of RPA, categories of RPA benefits, categories of RPA risk, and employee impact on the role description related to RPA. So the first one is the core functions. So on the left we have data collection, data processing, and activities, and at the right column they have the corresponding functions. For example, for data collection, such as opening emails and attachments, scraping the data from the web, capturing digital information from source systems, and logging into web enterprise applications. Same with the data processing. So this is where the RPA processes the data, such as copying and pasting the data, filling forms, moving folders, reading and writing databases. So basically in the data processing, this is where the change is happening, or where the RPA bot is taking into action. So it's mostly performing some write actions here. It's modifying some data or inputting some data. And then the activities will be the making calculations, connecting to system APIs, and starting the work based on a schedule or electronic trigger. So basically that's your automation there already. So the categories for the benefits now, we have the cost reduction, productivity enhancement, customer service improvement, and impact on employees. So these are the benefits listed. For example, for cost reduction, total full-time equivalent savings and cost reductions. Removal of non-value added process since we are automating repetitive and mundane tasks. Reduction in training costs since you won't have to train personnel for this. Same goes with productivity enhancements such as work around the clock. It can work 24 by 7. It's not taking a break or any, it does not need to sleep. So it works like as a machine or as a normal computer. So better management of information. So there's no hiding of information here. Basically, they are just getting processed according on how they are programmed. So customer service improvements. This is one of the most important benefits is the customer satisfaction because everything is delivered properly and correct, and at the same time it's much faster, so they can deliver in a timely manner. So it's also accuracy in handling customer orders and processing lead time shortening, quality improvements, compliance improvements, and advancing organization practices. So the impact on the employees will be the releasing of repetitive and mundane tasks. So from there, they can focus on their logical tasks or decision-based activities that they need to do, and from there, growth comes into play, and they will enjoy their time within the organization. So improving employee morale, higher satisfaction, upskilling, and providing employees with more capacity to be proactive and suggest improvements. Next will be the categories of our PA risks. So first one will be executive, next technical, change management, and operational. So basically these are the possible risks if we are implementing an RPA. So more rigid organization, and then we become dependent on RPA. We loss of expertise because it's already the robot that's doing the job for us. So isolated goals, lack of sponsorships. For technical will be the integration, of course. This is a technology that needs maintenance and that needs constant monitoring. So the integration for this, the fault tolerance, how can we make sure that there's no wrong testing approach, there's no cybersecurity breach. For the change management will be the employee resistance, wrong communication, not understanding of the RPA concept, no strategy, skills requirements, and drive change only by ROI or return of investment perspective. For operational will be the quality of data, project leadership, scalability issues, no development in core systems, no component reusability, so poor documentation, knowledge loss, and human control. So basically, there's a huge benefit from RPA, and at the same time, there are a lot of risks when implementing this, so we must also consider that before moving into consideration that we're going to be doing RPA for our company. Lastly will be the impact on the role descriptions related to RPA. So robot controller, manager of the robot and primary point of contact, take care of scheduling or the orchestration of the robots, monitor processing and signal potential issues. The business user, the employees that handles the exception generated by the robot. The process robotics developer and maintenance, technical application manager, and vendor support. So these are all the employee category or employee impact on the role descriptions related to RPA. So for the results, there was no uniform role of IT department in the RPA development. Some implementations were based on citizen developers, while in other organization, IT department was involved in the identification process for improvement, following the path for the IT systems instrument implementation. Thus, RPA was not different from other systems, and earlier experience could be used to identify, improve, and automate the process. So basically, they are saying that RPA is not a unique one. Basically, it's just an additional one to the existing automation technologies that we have here. So the implementation was in some cases outsourced to external companies or completed by internal teams. Moreover, in one case, company, the IT department was also facilitating the job profile change of some employees who moved the business side to the RPA COE inside the organization. Such practices have also been formerly reported in the related literature. So basically, the IT department, there's a different or varying role for them. There's no, as mentioned here, there was no uniform role on how for their RPA development. So technically it varies on how or depending how the organization will define their RPA development and management. So it really depends on how it is the IT department impacts the development and the success of the RPA project. So but most of the time IT department's involvement has been already there, such as RPA mentioned that it was not different from other systems and earlier experiences. So most enterprises who wants to deploy RPA also mainly aims at the realization of benefits such as increased productivity through eliminating labor and highly repetitive tasks, like mentioned, elimination of mundane tasks, reflected reduction of person years at ease. Through RPA, staffs are also able to focus on logical and decision-based duties, which allows them to be more productive and grow within the organization. Also, based on the results of the interview, companies will also become more productive and be able to save costs as less training will be required to train the staff who will do the repetitive and mundane tasks. So as mentioned by the researchers here, they mention their findings suggest that RPA is mainly perceived as an operational tool to automate and improve internal processes with little consideration of its strategic and external impact, including including impacts on customers and service quality. This is in line with the approach of the way how benefits are calculated, looking mainly at savings on labor costs. As for the main contribution RPA in theory, in contrast to cases previously reported in available literature, key decision factors behind RPA deployments were operational benefits with minor role of strategic and intangible and non-financial aspects. Lastly will be the study opportunities for improvement. So as mentioned by the researchers, their study was limited by time, the location, and the number of case companies, since they actually performed this from the late months of 2018 up to the early months of 2019. Also, they have just performed this in the Nordic region. So basically, they only have limited countries and companies that they were able to perform the study. And also, it focuses on how will companies or enterprises accept or consider RPA as part of their organization and benefit from its functions. So they recommended that for future developments and improvements, researchers must focus on the part where how RPA directly impacts the IT market and how RPA is changing the market position of the company and influencing customer service, process quality, as well as the ability to change processes at request. So basically, the overall study focuses on the fact that how will the companies accept or how will they respond with the introduction of RPA to them. Will they accept it or not? What are the risks? What are the benefits? So they didn't include like how RPA affects the actual market or the actual industry that we belong right now, which is the IT and automation. So that is what's been suggested here, and I think that's, from my opinion, that is also the best action to take on how will they be successful to get or to provide more details regarding the RPA's role in the current market that we